Sometimes the most meaningful paths in life begin with uncertainty. For Ami, a young woman whose seriousness often made her seem distant, the road toward helping others didn't start with confidence or clarity. It began with hesitation and a quiet sense of duty she couldn't ignore. Ami's day job is a small, warm charity office with the motto, supporting awareness and supporting life reconstruction, reintegrating into society. It's a long title for a simple purpose, helping people who have temporarily lost their way find balance again. Her colleagues were kind, patient people, each with their own reasons for being there. At first, Ami didn't think she belonged. Her personality, serious, structured, and honest to the point of bluntness. Ami often found herself struggling to choose the right words, to open up, to feel comfortable. Her first assignments were never easy. She visited small apartments where time seemed to stand still, rooms where curtains stayed closed, and silence spoke louder than any words. These were the homes of people who had quietly withdrawn from the world, unsure of what to do next. Ami was there to talk, to listen, to guide. But each time she knocked on a door, she felt the same anxiety rise. What if they don't want my help? What if I can't make a difference? Many of the people she met greeted her with polite hesitation, some with quiet resistance. Their eyes revealed fatigue, mistrust, or simply indifference. They weren't unkind. They were just tired. Tired of promises, tired of disappointment, tired of trying. And Ami, despite her training and good intentions, found herself emotionally unprepared for that kind of silence. But something within her refused to give up. Even when she returned home exhausted, replaying the day's conversations in her head, Ami knew she couldn't walk away. The thought of someone sitting alone, surrounded by the weight of their thoughts, reminded her of why she had chosen this job in the first place. She believed, even when she didn't fully understand it yet, that every person deserved a second chance at peace. So she kept showing up, day after day. Sometimes all she could do was offer a smile, a small conversation, a few minutes of genuine attention. She learned that kindness didn't always mean fixing something right away. Sometimes it simply meant being there long enough for trust to take root. Gradually, she began noticing the smallest signs of change. A man who once refused to speak now offered her tea during visits. A woman who had stopped going outside started taking short walks again. Each small moment reminded Ami that progress didn't always look dramatic. It was quiet, steady, and deeply human. And as Ami watched these moments unfold, she also began to change. Her discomfort slowly turned into understanding. Her structured mind started to soften with compassion. What once felt like an obligation began to feel like a purpose. She started to see that the charity wasn't just a place of work. It was a bridge, connecting people through shared humanity. That realization was only the beginning, because soon, Ami would face an experience that tested not only her patience, but her belief in what it truly means to help someone rebuild their life. And through that challenge, she would learn that empathy is not about having all the answers. It's about standing beside someone as they find their own. A few weeks after Ami had started feeling more at ease in her role, she received a new assignment, one that her supervisor described as a delicate case. The file was thin, containing only a short summary and an address on the edge of the city. The note read, "Middle-aged man living alone, withdrawn from social contact. Possible loss of motivation." At first glance, it didn't seem much different from the others she had encountered. But something about it caught her attention. Maybe it was the handwriting on the note, careful yet uneven, or the fact that his name, Mr. Hayato, had been circled twice, as if to signal something quietly important. The first visit wasn't easy. His small apartment was neat in some places, messy in others, like someone trying to maintain order while slowly losing the will to care. When Ami introduced herself, he nodded politely but didn't invite her to sit. His voice was soft and his answers short, as if every word required effort. Still, Ami stayed. Most of her attempts met with silence, but once, just once, she saw his eyes light up when she mentioned the puzzle. It was a brief moment, almost invisible, but to Ami, it was a beginning. Over the next few weeks, Ami and her colleagues visited frequently. Sometimes she brought small things, a new puzzle piece set, a few simple recipes, or even a small plant to brighten the room. She never forced conversation, never lectured. Instead, she listened. Slowly, Mr. Hayato began to talk. Not about anything dramatic, just everyday details. The weather, the music he liked, a bird that had nested outside his window. It was through these quiet exchanges that Ami and his colleagues began to understand him. It wasn't that he had lost his skills, but that he no longer felt connected to what he created. That sentence stayed with Ami long after she left. She thought about how easily people could drift away from themselves, how losing direction didn't always look dramatic. Determined to help him find purpose again, Ami and her colleagues began incorporating small challenges into their visits. Maybe, she suggested one day, you could start with something simple.
来週からあの方のお宅担当してもらうから再就職支援プランの方進めておく。
かしこまりました。
でも女性一人で大丈夫かな。誰かサポートつける？
いえ、ご心配なく私一人で十分対応できます。
そうだよね。水橋さん仕事に関しては男性顔負けだから。じゃあよろしく頼むね。
かしこまりました。それでは次のお宅に行きましょうか。
まあ僕もたまには
ありがとうございます。
A week later, when she returned, she noticed something different. It was nothing special, just a rough sketch of the tree she brought. But to Ami, it was more beautiful than any finished painting. For the first time, she saw the spark of renewal, not just in him, but in herself. His gradual transformation reminded her that change doesn't happen because someone tells us to. It happens when we begin to believe again. Ami continued to visit, and their conversations deepened. They spoke about art, resilience, and the strange way life often circles back, offering new beginnings when least expected. She realized that what truly mattered wasn't pushing people toward change, but standing beside them long enough for change to feel safe. Her work began to feel different after that. Every person she met wasn't just a case to manage, but a story still unfolding. Each smile, each hesitant thank you, became proof that kindness had real, measurable power. That day, after leaving Mr. Hayato's apartment, Ami walked through the quiet streets feeling lighter. The city lights shimmered against the wet pavement, and for the first time, she felt she was not just doing her job. She was part of something larger, something profoundly human. What she didn't yet realize was that this sense of renewal would soon be tested, because even the most hopeful journeys have moments that challenge everything we think we've learned. And Ami's greatest lesson was still waiting for her. one that would redefine not just how she helped others, but how she understood herself. Not every day at the charity brought progress. For Ami, the weeks that followed had been filled with small triumphs and quiet satisfaction. But as winter approached, something began to shift. That afternoon, she received a message from her supervisor. A simple reminder to check on Mr. Hayato again. He hadn't been answering calls. Ami didn't worry at first. He sometimes needed space. But when she arrived at his apartment, the door remained closed. After a few moments, he finally opened it, not with his usual polite calm, but with a look of weariness she hadn't seen before. She knew that moment, the fragile space between hope and doubt. Many people she had helped faced it eventually, the relapse of self-doubt, the fear that progress was temporary. But hearing it from him hit differently. This was the person who had inspired her to believe in slow, steady change. Helping others, she realized, wasn't about being the solution. It was about walking beside someone through their uncertainty. The real measure of compassion wasn't how quickly someone recovered, but how sincerely you stayed when progress slowed. From then on, their meetings became lighter. Progress came and went, as it always does, but Ami learned not to measure it in clear steps. Instead, she learned to see it in subtler forms, in conversation, in shared quiet, in the gentle resilience of trying again. She no longer worried about being the perfect guide. Instead, she focused on being present, authentic, and kind. Through her patience, she discovered that compassion wasn't a task, it was a way of being. By the end of that winter, Ami wasn't the same woman who had first walked nervously into the charity office months ago. She had faced uncertainty, not only in others but in herself, and come to understand that growth often hides within imperfection. What she didn't yet realize was that her experience with Mr. Hayato was more than just a chapter in her work. It was a reflection of something universal, the quiet truth that everyone, at some point, needs someone who stays.
はい、ありがとうございます。でも私一人で全然問題ありませんので、ありがとうございます。はい、それではいってらっしゃい。はい、お願いします。
In time, Ami understood that helping others was never about changing them. It was about believing in their ability to change. Every small act of kindness, every moment of patience, could rebuild trust where it was lost. Her journey taught her that compassion isn't loud or dramatic. It's quiet, steady, and deeply human, the kind of goodness that makes life meaningful.
続けてください。で、そちらにも記入していただいて、
電話番号は携帯でいいの？
両方書いてください。